just got the maps for the might.
Yes, you're right. I need to set you up with meeting a fellow who does a lot of business, and he's the person that you are paying your Thieves Guild tithe to. Name is Shezvar Vrekedzi. Um, Shezvar, who is a very, very heavy person, with almost no distinguishing gender marks, beardless, and with a tenor voice, a very, very high tenor voice. And after a little bit, you don't really know what gender Shezvar is. That's a very big person, with well, could be anything. So a human. I was definitely expecting some electrum to be coming through our hands sooner or later, but not really through your hands, Hazel.
Why?
There,
Do you doubt my abilities?
no, we were expecting to manage some electrum for the benefit of a potential client. It seems to have gone missing, those clients. So I suppose I am quite grateful to see that some of it has come in through secondary means.
Well, if you want me to keep my fingers from people, you have to tell me which people to avoid.
I understand that this was actually through our friends, meaning the church.
Yeah.
And
This
therefore,
is not a win situation for me. I already lost 10%. I lose 10% more. And you all will be happy. So what?
well, I would be happier if we kept a little eye on a concerned person in this matter, who is being a little.
I'm not a spy. That doesn't
No.
make money.
No,
No.
but I will explain myself clearly. Without looking into some of the details of the events concerning a certain prominent political person in the city, without looking a little too closely into that, which is very disadvantageous in some ways because that electrum would be coming to us without strings attached, without looking into details of how the electrum was diverted into different places and to different means and that I am unaware of. Perhaps you could my complete my comfort levels. Would a professional fee of not less than 100 gold plus 10 gold commensurate with any harm you may suffer as sympathy. In game terms, 10 gold pieces per hit point lost. Just to kind of recognize that times are tough. As well as the loan of this. Shezvar holds out a little ring. It would be returned to me, of course, after its use.
Of course. It will not get lost.
Depending on your use of it, it might even be a token of appreciation. It's meant a lot to me, though. Shezvar taps the ring on the table. It will be sad to say goodbye.
Does it have any special values?
that's my point. In a moment, I will tell you a little bit more about it. Let me find the proper table. There. Okay. When you find yourself all tied up or stuck to things or anything of the kind, it tells you a specific trigger word that you can say. You will find yourself very free of motion. For example, and here he leans over, if you were underwater, or any other difficult situation where your movement is constricted.
Good. So this is a real shit job. What am I to do?
Well, there is a little. It's on the street of the gods. There's a little temple. There's nothing very nice, very new, very helpless, very doomed. They won't last a month, I'm sure. But they have stirred up a little bit of trouble, and I would very much like you to acquire some resources in a nearby building. Some resources that people have forgotten all about. Very valuable resources, extremely valuable to people in both churches, for example. Something that could be very important to me, and something that is very important to me means I'm very appreciative toward you. Fetching but one of these resources brings you the fee that I mentioned, with an additional 100 gold for each unit.
And you are not willing or not able to name what kind of resource I'm looking for?
They're difficult to transport and they may wiggle.
Well. I'll think about it. I'll come for the ring if I decide to do it.
Says, don't think too long.
No, just want to heal up old scars.
So for you,
Yep.
You are going to be given a little gift.
Okay.
Okay. One thing you do know is that there are, after you guys set up this temple, that it seems that the little shed that you are in and have tried to set up nicely with a little altar and everything, somebody's been keeping it very clean who's not you. And it's only after a little while that you realize that little tiny people about this tall, occasionally you see them once in a while and they pop out of sight if you look too much. But they seem to be taking very good care of the grounds, and it's getting cleaner and nicer and tidier around the outside. Slowly, I'm pretty sure that these little guys are doing it. So, and as you carry out the various rites and things like that, and over stops contemplating for 5 minutes at a time to tend to important things. Sometimes you get the idea that somebody is in there with you, participating in like a prayer or something like that. So that's a nice thing. Could be worse. Now the fellow you talked to was more like sort of this inquisitor person, this older guy with these big hairy eyebrows. Okay, so this person is Mogra Shusk. Mm-hmm. I made up really stupid fantasy names for fun. I'm usually much more cultural and ethnic in my naming.
Yep.
Of fantasy stuff, but
we are high fantasy.
Yeah, we are going into silly,
Yep.
Pop fantasy for our naming.
Great.
Mograr Shusk, human guy who is actually pretty old.
Yep.
Got he's got a full head of hair, but it's very gray and white, and he's so pious, such a zealot that he doesn't even attend to like the grandeur of his robes. So they're ragged in the cuffs and around the bottom, and because that's just the old one that he's worn, all this time on all these, and has paid no attention that he can get a new one.
Much higher pace.
Yes, and he he forcefully, informs you that you have made a good beginning, but it is only a start. That there is much more to do. There is much more to learn. There is much more to achieve. But he still hasn't talked to you about what you need to do. So, but he is not berating you for that's all in the past. He said to make it go away, you made it go away, he's done. There's no congratulations, no nothing. Doesn't even mention it. But the primary issue for him is that there is an influence of chaos in one of the little temples in the streets of the gods. And this influence needs to be destroyed. This little temple had failed, but something lingers there, and there is a consciousness there, and there is almost certainly a person in charge of that somehow.
Yes.
They need to be eliminated.
We cut out the growth.
Mm-hmm. And it's all very well and good for the big church, across the way to have its influence and things, until of course we triumph. But these little independent versions that crop up, they are nothing but opportunity points for the other side. They must be stopped.
They would be proud.
Now, I believe that you may do well to find some hirelings, find some people who might aid you. Ruffians,
under the sword,
whoever may be of use to them. And take your time. There are many ways in which you would disappear and we would lose you.
Yes.
And at that point, then the entire hierarchy would have to be reshuffled, and just reshuffling hierarchies. No, the hierarchy is the way it is. We like it that way. The records are clear at this time. No confusion. Don't die.
I won't.
Your reward, the elevation that comes with this is significant. As a token, until that point of elevation, it is not yet yours. But as a loan, as a token of our appreciation of your potential, my appreciation of your potential. And he gives you something. Right. So this is actually a fairly beat up looking cloak that doesn't really look like anyone would want it. He says, wear this and keep your faith.
I am but too low.
In game terms, make third level cleric, you get to keep it.
Oh.
And when you get to keep these things, then you get the experience points that go with it. Your situation is rather similar. And I know this is all very coincidental, but that's how it works. In that the very same little temple that was described to him, the problem there is that there's a rogue. They are claiming that they are the true Chaos Church, and it was we smote them, and it was destroyed. Everything was shattered into the dust and dissolution that is coming to us all, except that didn't quite work. And so therefore, we need to take care of this quietly. If we make too much of a disturbance right there in the middle of the street of the gods, certain other powers will consider that to be an incursion. So very quietly, without any fuss, without any knowledge by anybody, we need you to make that little set of problems go away entirely. Anything of value there needs to be conveyed to the church, of which you will receive a suitable reward. So this is Kalvar Ka telling you this. And in the meantime, he's like clipping off like tree branches. He's gardening. And he's busy, working with his plants and things. And you smell a little and realize that he probably partakes of some of these substances that are growing around. So he, at one point or another, he pulls out a little pipe and puffs on it. So he seems to have some pleasant habits. He seems very calm and relaxed afterwards. So therefore, now you get the idea of all these exotic plants and things. This is a personal laboratory and recreation center. So therefore, your job is simply to slay, but most importantly to acquire anything that would be of interest to our church, entities, knowledge, valuables, anything of the sort. Because there is still a consciousness there. There is still a being there whose power is growing.
It could be worth it for me.
Well, that's a very important point now, isn't it? I definitely appreciate initiative and drive in our acolytes. So therefore, why don't you take this with you? And if you use it well, it may stay with you. Provides you with an arrow. And this particular arrow is that it has it's all made of exotic things. The feathers aren't from anything that you're familiar with. There's a symbol written all along its shaft. The metal of the arrowhead is exotic in some way or worked in a strange fashion. And he says this is particularly good against the beings of, well, it is necessary to discipline or to terminate those avatars of chaos that from time to time are useful to us. They're not always obedient, and it's better to take care of the problem directly. I understand you may have had some difficulties along these lines if my visions are not false recently. This arrow would have been particularly nice against the contents of the box, for example. So should you run into any problems of this kind again, try this.
Right there.
And points out that once you have shot it, and if it that it would